Imagine a town that simply vanished, not overnight, but slowly, deliberately, erased from the map, from memory, from history itself. This isn't a ghost story. It is a chilling true story about an American town that was sacrificed in the name of progress, indeed, and left to disappear. Let's go back to the early 1940s. Deep in the American heartland, a new town is born. It's a picture of the American dream, built around a massive, government-backed industrial project. People flock there for good-paying jobs, new homes, and a bright future for their families. They had everything: schools, stores, a real sense of community. It looked like a success story, but it was built on a foundation of secrets. The heart of this town was a factory. Workers were told their jobs were vital for national security. What they weren't told was what they were actually handling. The materials were sensitive, and asking too many questions wasn't just discouraged, it was a quick way to lose your job. So, people kept their heads down and did the work, trusting that their country had their best interests at heart. They had no more idea they were building their homes, and raising their children on poisoned ground. It started subtly, a nagging cough that wouldn't go away, strange skin rashes, a bone-deep weariness that no more amount of sleep could cure. Doctors were puzzled. They blamed it on stress, diet, the wizard, anything but the factory that loomed over their lives. People wanted to believe them. They had tea. This town was their entire world. But the signs became impossible to ignore. Soon, it wasn't just the people. Animals began to get sick. Livestock would collapse in the fields for no more apparent reason. Pets refused to drink water from the local river. The river itself began to change, some days taking on a strange, unnatural shimmer in the sunlight. Farmers saw their crops wither and die in the soil. A quiet fear began to spread through the community. Something was terribly wrong. But who could they turn to when the source of their prosperity was also the likely source of their suffering? Here's where the story takes an even darker turn. Decades later, declassified government documents would reveal the truth. They knew. The officials in charge knew the area was contaminated. They had internal reports showing the soil was toxic and the water was poisoned. They knew that long-term exposure to whatever was in that factory would be devastating, even fatal. But shutting it all down, that would have been expensive. It would have meant admitting a catastrophic mistake. So, they made a different choice, a colder choice. Instead of cleaning up the town, they decided to let it die, quietly. The plan was insidious because it was so gradual. It started with neglect. Funding for road repairs was suddenly cut. The schools began to lose teachers and resources. The town's small clinic closed its doors, leaving residents without local medical care. The message was clear, even if it was never spoken aloud: get out. And some did. The families who had the money and the means packed up and left, seeking a healthier life elsewhere. But men couldn't. Their homes were all they had. Their jobs were tied to the factory. They were trapped, forced to watch their community crumble around them, piece by piece. They were living in a town that was being deliberately starved to death. Then one morning, it was over. Workers showed up for their shift and found the factory gates locked and chained. Armed guards stood watch. The project was finished, they were told. Just like that. No more final paychecks. No more severance. No more explanation for the years of their lives they had given. And most importantly, no more warning about the invisible poison they were leaving behind. Just silence. The shutdown of the factory was the final blow. Without its economic engine, the town collapsed with shocking speed. Businesses shuttered their windows one by one. The once bustling Main Street became a row of empty storefronts. Homes were abandoned, left to the mercy of the elements, their owners' belongings still inside. The population dwindled until only a handful of residents remained, haunted by the ghosts of what their town used to be. The graveyards, tragically, began to fill up faster than they ever should have. This is the part that feels like it's from a dystopian novel. As the town physically disappeared, a different kind of erasure was taking place. Official records began to change. The town's name started disappearing from government documents. No maps were printed that simply left a blank space where streets and homes once stood. Census data was updated, effectively pretending the population was zero. It was a systematic effort to wipe an entire community from the public record. An American town was sacrificed, and then its memory was methodically scrubbed away, slowly enough that the rest of the country never even noticed it was gone. Today, if you know where to look, you can find the land where this town once thrived. But you won't find any signs or markers. You won't find a memorial to the people who lived and died, sir. What you will find, according to modern environmental surveys, is land that remains dangerously toxic. The soil is still contaminated. The groundwater is still poisoned. It is a permanent scar on the landscape, a silent testament to a devastating secret. No more public apology was ever issued. No more compensation was ever offered to the families whose lives were destroyed. The story of this town serves as a terrifying reminder of what can happen when power goes unchecked and the human lives are weighed against dollars and cents. It's a story of a community that was promised a future, only to be secretly condemned and then completely forgotten. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into forgotten history. See you next time.